Hey everyone, welcome back to the Convos podcast, where we get down to the nitty-gritty aspects of student life. We have new main episodes every other Monday and new sub-series in the Wednesdays in between. Make sure to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, make sure to drop a follow on our Instagram at Convos Podcast. Enjoy! Hey everyone, welcome back to another cafeteria conversation. To my right is Kaila, and then to my bottom right is Maxwell. Did I get that right, Max?
Yes, you got it right. Oh my goodness.
Let's go.
Wow.
We've tried taking this intro like 4 different times and
We're
you got
almost
it
at the
you got
hour
it.
mark.
Yeah.
Oh
and
my
you got
God.
it wrong most of the time.
This is the first episode with the three of us, which is why I think it's been so chaotic.
You know, there's a first time
Anyway.
for everything. Yeah.
Anyway,
Sorry.
today we were talking about resumes and a little bit about job interviews. Earlier in last year, actually, one of our first episodes, we talked about, work experience and just being in the workforce. And so today, we're going to be talking about the preface to that, having the resumes, getting the experience to put on your resumes, and everything that comes underneath that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially as students.
Yeah. Okay, I wanted to start off with this just because when I was like preparing for this episode, I wanted to have some sort of structure. So it's kind of be broken up into 3 things. We're going to start off talking about how to get experience and like what our experiences are like, and then we're going to talk about actually writing your resume and tips for that, and then we're going to talk about some job interview stuff and funny stories we have from those. So I want to start off by asking you guys this question: like in general, what are your volunteer experiences, and then also, do you have any funny stories from your volunteer experience?
Jeez. Oh my gosh. All of my volunteer experience is with kids. So I think that's funny to begin with. Kids are, to preface, all of the stuff I put on my first resume was like church stuff. So like summer camps, Sunday school ministry, etc., etc., etc. I did some stuff with a choir I was part of, which was again just summer camps because I mean, as a 15-year-old, they're not going to trust you to do much. Okay, So we had this at the end of the summer camp every year. We did like a big water fight, and one year we did slime because that's a good idea. Luckily, I was not the counselor that got voted on to get it dumped on. But it's like if you've ever mixed cornstarch and water together, like when you hit it, it's a solid. But if you like touch it softly, it's a liquid.
Oobleck?
Oobleck.
Yeah.
So we made like, if you've ever been in like a summer camp or like a Sunday school, the giant big colored plastic bins you put all the toys in?
Kiddie pools,
We filled those. We filled 5 of those with cornstarch. Like we had like 10 pounds of cornstarch and hose water and like 3 packs of coloring food. Food coloring, sorry, not coloring food. And all of the kids like got to throw it at the counselor that got voted to do it.
And is that like compostable? Like what happens then after?
Well, it's cornstarch and water. Yeah, it's cornstarch and water. It's like it dissolves, I guess. Like we just have to hose the pavements down. But we had at the end there was like a little bit left in one of the buckets, and we wanted to get one of these counselors that like wasn't really there. And I wasn't really a part of this. I just kind of saw it out of the corner of my eye, them run and just dump it on them. But I think they hit him over the head with a bucket a little bit. So you got like, I just saw him like kind of jerk forward and hit his head, and then slime just fall down his face. And I was just so happy that it wasn't me. But there's some funny experiences. Put that on your resume. I got oobleck thrown at me. That shows perseverance, maybe. I don't know.
That's wild. No, my volunteer experience is not as wild as that. I stuck to school really. I got most of my volunteer hours in school. I got a bunch of my hours through the music program. A few of my hours, came through parent teacher nights. Just got like 2-3 hours off those. But a lot of them came through music nights, with like concerts, festivals, just little events that we hold. Just volunteering there just gets you a bunch of hours. Actually, I do have one story, not from music though. When I was in grade 8, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get my hours early. So the summer of grade 8.
Do they count?
Yeah, they count.
Yeah, they
Oh,
after you
summer,
graduate
summer.
elementary school.
Right,
Yeah.
summer.
This
Okay,
summer
okay.
going into grade 9, I volunteered at a cat shelter at PetSmart, and I spent 11. I got 11 hours for just sitting there and doing nothing, just playing with cats. I thought it was pretty fun.
I'm
I
sure
thought it was
you
pretty
did
fun.
something.
Okay, I literally like the volunteer, like what they told me to do. They're like, just make them look presentable, like just play with them and make them look cute. Perfect. All I've got to do is just put them in a bucket and hold them. That's all I got to do, and they just chill in the bucket and just play and sleep. That's perfect. I just sat there. And yeah, I guess that goes to show that you can get volunteer hours wherever you look.
What a cool story.
Yeah, that's my point. It's not slime, but it's cats. It's pretty cool.
Cats are cool.
Cats are pretty cool. Maxwell?
Most of my volunteer experience is like the same as Kayla's. It's like church stuff and then stuff that you get connected to like through people that you meet at church and you talk to. So it's like same as Kayla's, right? Summer camps, Sunday schools, the kids worship, playing the cajon, like children's ministry events, and then like mission trips in the summers and stuff like that. I'm struggling. I feel like I have a lot more funnier stories from my volunteer
Me too.
experience, but like just like having to come up
Because
with
you
them right now, listening to yours, I can't really come up with them, and I'm like blanking. But there was one funny time. So like the camp days are normally like the volunteers get there at like 7:30 to 8, and then you start everything like 8:30, and then you have the whole day, and then you end at like 3:30 to 4, and then the volunteers stay there to set up everything for the next day until like 4:35. So one time, like most of the kids were gone already because it was like a period of time where the parents can come and like sign them out and stuff. And then one of these kids' little siblings who wasn't even at the camp pulled the fire alarm. So then we had to get everyone out. And like we knew that a kid pulled it, so it wasn't like we were thinking there was an actual fire, but it's still like the whole fire truck came.
Oh no.
And then we had
Oh,
everyone
no.
outside, and then it's just delayed some time. But yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah.
Wait, can I have one? I have another story you kind of reminded me of.
Yeah.
I think this one's funnier than the slime one, and I just want to share it.
What goes
So-
on?
I volunteer. This isn't a summer camp. This is kind of worse. This is a wedding.
You were
So-
volunteering at a wedding? You got hours from that? Or you just volunteering?
No. Okay, this isn't volunteer. I got this opportunity through volunteering.
Oh.
I just think it's kind of funny, and I wanted to share it. I actually get so at my church. If you serve like I altar serve, so like I help basically like run the services, right? And once you're in high school, you're eligible to do it for weddings, and at weddings you get unofficially paid. You're not told you're paid, but it's kind of like as the bride and groom, you tip them, quote unquote, right? So I was at a wedding, and service is going great and all that, and they're like doing the wedding stuff. The door opens, this kid runs in, not in a suit, not dressed in like formal clothes, he's just dressed in like street clothes, runs up to the altar during the wedding. I am staring there, I'm like staring at this kid, and he's not quiet, he's like having fun. Like a kid would run in a toy store, and he runs up on the altar, and everyone's just staring at this kid. And then the poor adult who was with him, I don't know whether or not it was like mother, older sister, guardian, but like the adult responsible for him runs in after and is trying to like get the kid off the stage in like that. When you're like kids obviously doing something, but you're still trying to like whisper. You're like,
Yeah.
come here.
Yeah.
Like she was just standing there trying to do this, and I felt so bad for her because the entire wedding was just like, what is going on? And then eventually the wedding coordinator, like the staff member, had to like go up and like kind of like no, didn't do anything bad. For the people who didn't know, Maxwell swung at no, the wedding coordinator like went up to him and like took his hand and like, come on this way, and like took him off the stage. But turns out the woman came to the church to pray and didn't realize that there was a wedding going on. And the kid just ran in, and that was like a 5-minute delay, and then it just resumed like nothing happened. And me and my friend who were doing the wedding, we were just kind of like looking at each other, and then we almost missed our cue to bring the rings out because we were just like, what is happening?
Bro, kids are different breeds. But anyway, that's a different story.
Sorry, I just thought I'd share.
That's wild. Dang. I wish.
Yeah, volunteers experiencing is fun. You
It
get
is.
a lot of stories.
It is fun. Anyway, so you guys kind of grew up with church, and were kind of you guys found your opportunities through there.
Mhm.
Do you guys know of any other ways to search for volunteer experience or just experience in general, really?
The two church kids.
I mean,
You guys also went to school. Huh?
okay, yeah, okay. I didn't.
I mean, yeah, we went to school.
I did not do a lot of volunteering through school because I had all my hours done before I even went into
Same.
high school from doing stuff at church.
Same.
Okay, but I got a lot of hours, man. Okay, we can talk about that another time. That's why I think I have a lot more funny stories that I could tell for another day because I have like a lot of volunteer hours. But it's
Oh,
not just about the hours; it's about the
Sub-series
experience.
I have
episode.
one.
Sub-series
Funny stories.
episodes, yeah. Okay, Kaila.
Okay,
go
so I actually had to do hours for something I had to do in church that had to be outside of school, like
Are we
outside
doing
of
funny
church.
stories for the rest of the?
No. This is not a story. This is about
Oh.
like finding volunteer experience.
Oh, I
that
thought
is-
we were just doing
No,
that.
no. No, it's okay. But I have within like my parents, like I guess kind of friend group. Um, there are a lot of they're older, but a lot of them are really involved in the community. And when I needed to do this, my mom's like, "Hey, why don't you ask one of them?" Like, because there's this couple that does a lot of like charity work, and I was like, "Oh, like good way to do it." And I got to do a couple events with them actually. One of them at our local theater, and it was for a awareness for human trafficking. They were showing a short feature film, and I just helped with the catering. They were just involved with that. I don't fully know how they were involved, but yeah, I definitely like networked through some of the people my parents knew because
Mhm.
adults are pretty cool. They do a lot of cool things that we don't necessarily know about.
Mhm.
And I was just like, hey, like, do you have anything? Do you have anywhere that I could be of use? Like, honestly, like, that's all I said. And they were like, yeah, you know what? We're doing this event at the theater. We need someone to help with the food and and like the catering and stuff. Like, are you down? You have like 3-4 hours of your time that you can do this. And I got to eat some food, watch a short film, and get some hours. So ask the people close to you. You
Mhm.
never know.
Keep an eye on your community, really. Like when I was talking
Mhm.
about the PetSmart thing earlier. The PetSmart's like right beside my house, right? I was just walking around, joined PetSmart just to find like a thing for my hamster, right? And like just looking around, like, oh wow, I can get hours here, cool. Or like, oh, like, and then you're just walking down the road, you see something like taped to like one of those like light lamp, like the lamp posts.
Telephone pole.
Oh yeah,
Or
that stuff.
lamppost, yeah.
Lamppost. You just see stuff posted like, oh, volunteers needed. Oh,
Yeah.
cool, nice. I can get volunteer hours here.
Validate them first. Don't just walk
Yeah.
the door.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
I'm gonna put that out there. Validate it.
Or just look online, be like volunteer places in your city.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You'll get a bunch of opportunities.
Yeah, I'll add on a bit to what Kaila was saying. I think a big thing. I don't want to say that like we get like a free pass to get volunteer hours because we're involved and go to our churches, and there's lots of things that come from that you're able to volunteer at. But a big thing for like any volunteer experience or experience in general is what Kaila was saying, right? Is the networking. It's like no matter where you are, you're always gonna have that mindset of like there's a possibility that I could meet someone that's going to be able to help me in the future, and I would be able to help them as well, right? So it's like what Kaila was talking about, like talking to your parents, friends, just talking to adults in your life or other people, because like one volunteer thing that I did, I volunteered as a scorekeeper at like a children's basketball camp and then also in their house league. And the reason I was able to get that is because my parents were friends with the guy who is running the entire organization. And it's like you don't really have to do a lot to prove that you are reliable and that you do a good job, because it's like
They already know you.
yeah, it's like they know you, and they also know that you'll be reliable based off of the relationship that they
Yeah.
have with your parents. Yeah, so
but
it's,
I mean, sorry,
it's just networking. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
sorry. I just wanted to add, like, you really have to, like, coupled with networking is, I don't know maybe if you guys feel this way, but like this is like kind of talking about more jobs, but like one of my jobs I got was I worked for the real estate agency that my parents had for all of the houses that they've ever lived in since I've been with them. And my parents were like good friends with I don't know what you call it, like the owners, like the people whose names are on the agency, right?
The
The real
agents.
estate
The
agents.
real
Like-
estate agents.
No, but but not like just a real estate agent. Like if it's like Bob's agency, they were friends with Bob.
The real estate
Oh.
agents.
The real estate agent.
Yeah, but okay, sure. Yeah, the real estate agents. No, but do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
But I was really hesitant to do it because I was like, I don't want to be the kid who's just like got a job because they knew, like, your parents knew them, you know?
Mhm.
So you really gotta like polish your resume and like on top, like networking is good to find connections, but don't rely or don't expect jobs and
Yeah.
things and opportunities just because you are networking. I just wanted to put that out there. Not that I think for the most part people don't do that, but just in case, you know, like I don't want it to be like, oh, my parents know this person, I'm gonna get a job through them, because yeah, your parents may know them, but
Yeah.
if you're not the best candidate for the job, you're not gonna get it.
Yeah.
It's useful, but like make sure just like you like have it as like a thing to enhance your chances rather than be your chances.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Don't rely on it completely as a safety net. Just say it's like something that you're being handed and you can screw it up. Like it's not a guarantee whenever you get an opportunity that you're going to be able to do it well, right? There's always the opportunity
Exactly.
that there's someone who's more suited for it that they could pick, right? So that's about networking, connecting. And I'm just going to bring it back to school a little bit because I mentioned that I didn't do a lot of volunteering with school, but this program isn't really volunteering, I guess. So
More experience, really.
yeah, it's experience. So most schools, I don't know if it's all schools actually, but most of the schools in our city and like our area have something called the SHSM program, which is great. I love our guidance counselor who runs
Shout
it.
out.
He's an amazing guy.
Mr. Guidance Counselor.
Yeah, we won't say his name for privacy reasons, but yeah, he's amazing. He does an amazing job of running it and like taking care of
For
like
sure.
the students that are in the program. So what it is, it's called SHSM. It's called what does that stand for? I don't even know. I'm in the program.
Specialty high school major. It's
Is that-
specialty high school major.
I'm
I
gonna
think,
take your word for that.
Can you look it up? No, look it up. Just
I'll look it up.
I don't know if it's that order, but it's high school specialty and major because you're majoring in like health and wellness or you're majoring in like arts and culture. I'm almost certain.
Specialist high skills major.
High
Man.
skills. Oh, I was close enough.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Man, I got the T-shirts and everything. I don't even know. I'm sorry. I apologize. But yeah, so this because everyone just calls it SHSM or SHSM.
Schism, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an amazing program. Pretty much, there's different sectors to SHSM depending on what you want to go into. So I guess this is more when you know the general direction you want to go with your education and your career path. It starts in grade 11, right?
Yeah.
So pretty much when you're going into grade 11, you can say whether or not you want to do the program. And what you do is you choose your sector, and then you get like a special stamp on your diploma when you complete it. And what you have to do to complete it is you have to do a bunch of different things like complete like the certain trainings that they require. So it's really all about like getting skills
Experience.
in your specialty, right? So I know me and Naman, we were both in SHSM and we were in like the health and wellness sector because we both want to go into like health sciences. And like some of the things we've done, there was trips to like universities where you're able to like meet other students and you're able to learn about like kinds of labs that they do, stuff like that. There was also what was that?
CPR training.
Yeah, CPR training. It's like
That's a good one.
yeah,
That was fun.
it's something people do pretty commonly like with their
Yeah.
swimming lessons, but if you're not able to do that, this was a great way to do it. You do a 2-day course with people that come in, they show you how to do everything, the dummies and
And
all.
it's covered.
Yeah, and it's covered too by the
It's
program.
all covered, that's facts. And there's
Yeah.
also like a bunch of different like workshops.
Yeah.
Max and I, we took like a day off from school. We got signed out. It's also pretty good. We got signed out, and we had this like workshop just about like it was like networking and just like
Oh yeah,
like
I completely
social
forgot
skills.
about that.
yeah.
It was
The
The
about like,
communications one?
yeah,
It was on picture day.
Mm,
I remember.
yeah.
yeah.
I just
Uh,
I think if your school doesn't have, because our school's SHSM is attached to our co-op program,
Mhm.
so if you haven't heard about it,
What
maybe
is co-op program, Kaila?
this isn't a co-op episode. We talked about, if you want to learn a little bit more about co-op, I think we talked about it in, was it Clubs
Clubs and
Courses?
courses, yeah.
Clubs and Courses, so go check out that episode. But if you're a little unsure of where to look for it, I would say first stop is your co-op department if your school has it. But the opportunities you get to do through SHSM and through co-op really do, like, I didn't have a certification section on my resume, and now I do.
Yeah.
As I was applying for different things, I actually emailed our guidance counselor, and I said, "Hey, can I just have a list of all the certifications I've earned so far?" And I had some that I didn't even realize I had. Like I knew I had CPR, but I had like actual certifications for communications. I had WMIS, and WMIS is a good one for the workplace. But yeah, no, your school, not to sound cheesy, but your school is there to support you, and they have a lot of really cool opportunities. Like,
for sure,
walk into your guidance office and see what posters they have up, like of what opportunities are coming to you, and take advantage of them, because a lot of the times they're covered by the school or at least partially subsidized, which is a really awesome way to make sure that in an effort to make it accessible for all students so that everyone can have an opportunity to attain these skills. So it takes a little bit of searching, but you really can find ways to build a resume without having job experience, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
And Kaila touched on co-op, and like I know we did have our co-op episode, but just like it is important when it comes to resume building. It's a big part of my resume. I spent like around 180-ish hours just like working with seniors at a senior home, helping with day-to-day activities, feeding, therapy, stuff like that, and it was amazing. So I kind of solidified like my career choice, being like, all right, I want to work in health and wellness. I loved it. And also we could use it as kind of a way to like make kind of like you can kind of tell like if you don't want to do something. 'Cause, like I think you'd rather know that you don't want to do something, for example, the health and wellness field in grade 11 and 10 and 12 before you get into university, you know? Like, but anyway, besides the point.
Yeah.
You know, doing all this work and helping with seniors and stuff like that, it's a really big statement on my resume. You know, worked this many hours with doing X, Y, and Z at this place, and you know, co-op is just a huge thing for just experience, and it's really great.
Speaking of co-op, and kind of speaking a little bit about resumes and stuff like that, like when I did my co-op placement last year, I have this weird thing. I don't know if it's weird, but whenever I do anything that involves like volunteering or job experience, I always, if I get the position, one of the first things I ask my employer or like my supervisor is like, why did you choose me? Not out of like, not because I need them to stroke my ego, but more just like, I want to know what it was that like caught their attention, because then I know that that's something I can spotlight, you know, or I'll say like what is it that made me suited for this position. And my co-op supervisor, for the one I did a placement with a social media marketing company, and he said, honestly, the resume looked really pretty, and it just stuck out in the pile. He's like, I remembered what your header looked like because it had your name really large and it had colors on it, which I took a small sneak peek at the other pile of resumes, and none of them really had color. Don't go looking through the people's resumes, but it was just on the table. But sorry, but like I just sorry. This long-winded rambling has a point. I promise. My point is just don't like really work on the aesthetics of your resume. I know some employers may say it's not really something that's important to them, but human beings, your eyes are drawn to things that are visually appealing.
Just
is what I'm trying to say.
I mentioned this a little bit earlier. Cater your resume to the thing you're trying to impress. You know, like if you're trying to impress like just like big law firm or something, you don't want to go in with like Comic Sans. Well, don't go with Comic Sans font anymore.
Never.
But anyway,
please. This is a PSA. Never use Comic Sans on your resume.
Never.
That's fact.
Don't bullet list it. Don't just give me a bullet list of the things you're good at.
Yeah, but anyway, I was saying, going to the law firm, you don't want these like crazy colors everywhere. You don't want like these wild fonts and everything. But if you're going into something else like graphic design, or you're going into like an apprenticeship for this like a tech company or something, you may want cool graphics, not graphics per se, but like cool aesthetic things. You know,
yeah.
Just cater your resume to what you're going for.
Definitely. and cater the things in your resume too. Like I I'm trying to say this in a way that doesn't make me sound like a terrible person, but I was at work right before we filmed this episode, and I asked my boss a couple questions. Uh, subtly, I was like, "So, what do you look for in a resume?"
Subtly. Nice.
Yeah, very
Ask
subtle.
for a friend.
That's literally what I said. He's like, "Why do you want to know?" And I was like, "Oh, I was just talking about work with some friends, and I was just curious, as an employer."
You're not wrong, unless we're not friends.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, just we were having a conversation.
Cafeteria. Sorry, continue.
But he just said, "Don't put." He said one of the things is like, put relevant information on your resume, which I know sounds like tedious and like people say it all the time, but I've seen resumes that come into my job my job placement, my job, and I like scan through it, right? And they list things like elementary school certifications, which I'm good for you. I'm glad you got it, but it doesn't really show us anything. Like everything on your resume needs to be intentional and well thought out and well placed. It can't just be you word vomiting what you've done.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to be applying for a job and you're handing in a resume that has stuff that's like, if you're in high school, I mean, because that's like the legal working age, and you're handing in stuff on your resume that's like before you graduated elementary school, like that's gonna say a lot about
November.
Yeah, you guys remember elementary school, the what is it, the character
awards?
Assemblies.
I got
bro,
all
I was
those
so hyped. Oh, when I unrelated, when I realized that teachers were only like permitted to give like every student like one a year, so like, bro, I was devastated. I was like, I was the most responsible kid this entire week, and you still give it. Oh my god, I stood up for I made sure to raise my hand every single question, and you give the initiative award to this kid who didn't.
Okay.
And then I realized that you have to give it. Everyone had to get one.
But yeah,
damn.
put relevant information. Sorry. Was there more about the
relevant information?
Yeah, no, put relevant information on your resume. And I don't know, I don't remember if I mentioned it earlier, but like kind of you learn the tricks the more you do it, which is why I say like for every new job I apply to, I redo my resume because I think it's good practice. But you learn how to take what could be considered a very broad skill and irrelevant skill that you may have done, like a summer camp. How do you take the skills you learned in a summer camp and tailor it towards a grocery store job?
That's facts.
Yeah, so what I do is kind of similar to Kaila's. Is like not only when I'm applying to things, but I'll regularly like keep it in mind, like what can I add to my resume? How can I like tweak it and change it? And then I also, what a good thing to practice is sending it to other people. You can like show your family members, but also like specifically try and send it to people that aren't your family members, because sometimes your family members will be like, yeah, that's really nice, and then just kind of brush it off because they have like their own business to deal with, right? But if you send it to other people and they're willing to give you
teachers
their own feedback, teachers, people who are mentors in your life, sending it to them and getting their feedback, they will be more harsh with you, because I've like sent my resume to people and like you can go in earlier. You can go to earlier drafts of my resume and see how bad and like, well, not bad per se, but I was a lot younger comparatively to my newer ones. I believe they're a lot better because I think a big thing for me was it's like you're starting to go apply to places that need a resume. So it's like, okay, grade 10 careers classes, like make a resume, but you don't have too much, right, to work with on your resume. So a big thing for me was like I was doing all this research about how different people write their resumes, and then I was like, oh, I want to go into science, so I'm going to model it more after like science students, and it's like more just straightforward information stuff that's like clear and like visually aesthetically pleasing, but not like graphic design like Canva templates and all that stuff. So
don't knock Canva.
Hey, I'm not knocking Canva. I use Canva for almost everything. But I like you know what I mean, those templates with like circles and the ones that have like your picture on it next to your name and all that stuff. Like that's not always necessary, right? Yeah. So I think a big thing for me was when it comes to having a section for like skills. I think what a lot of people tend to do is like you look up like
Best
like
resume
broad
skills
skills,
2021.
yeah, skills to put on my resume, because my resume would be like, it would be like hardworking, leadership and stuff like that. And
Responsibility.
of course those like soft skills, I would say, are great things to like have and know that you're good at. But what are ways that you can better present the skills that you have than just writing like
Leadership.
leadership or hard work,
Yeah.
or
Respect. Initiative.
team worker, right? And stuff like
You know
like
what, though?
compassionate and stuff like that. Like, yes, they're good ways to explain them, but there are better ways to, like, in a more professional setting, to display those things, whether it be through like talking about your experience. Like what I do is, for my volunteer experience, I have a short sentence of like my role and like what I did, like the main task that I did. What are ways that you can explain that you're a responsible person, that you don't show up late, through your experiences, rather than just like listing out super basic points that everyone's going to have on your resume.
Facts.
Can I just say one quick thing about soft skills? This kind of like coincided, like, so when I built my first resume, I did it right around the time my mom made me take this really in-depth personality test, because she was doing it, and she's like, this could be fun for you to do. And it was like strengths test about like, it had these 40 soft skill strengths, and like just you did a test and it was like, here are yours, and it gave you like this long report. But that has been like my saving grace for any application I've done. If you get questions, what are your strengths? And you don't want to put responsibility and stuff like that. Like, I have the 5 strengths. I have ideation, so like creativity, the ability to think outside the box, collaboration, and it gave you. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm being so rambling, but it gave you like a skill, and then it gave you like 3 sentences on how you could describe that skill like in depth. So on my resume, instead of giving a list of like 10 strengths of just like words, I took 2 and I wrote little paragraphs in my strengths section to demonstrate that I actually knew what those words meant, and I knew how those could be applied to the workforce. So really quality over quantity when it comes to resumes, right? Like, you see like Max probably sees it, I see it, like you see the resumes that come in and it's just like lists of things, and you're like,
Cool.
like, it doesn't show you anything, because it, like, how is teamwork going to apply to you working at this job? Like, how can you show that you actually know what those soft skills mean and how to utilize them properly? And when you're writing a resume, I kind of like, if you're going to go with the whole like things to put on your resume, or like how do other people write their resume, make sure you're writing your resume in a way that sounds like you. Because when you deliver your resume in person, not if, when, because you have to deliver it in person. When you deliver your resume in person, if it doesn't sound like you, they're going to know for sure it's just some bluff resume.
Yep.
So that's just my 2 cents on the soft skills and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about interviews after we finish talking about resumes. But I'm just going to give a little story. When I went into my co-op placement for my interview, that was in, when did we do co-op, Norman? First semester, grade 11?
First semester.
So that
It was
was
November, October.
Yeah, no,
October.
October 2019. Wow, that's a long time ago. Okay.
Jeez.
October 2019.
Whoa.
When I had my my interview for my co-op placement, it wasn't as formal of an interview, because it was like, we're pretty much already going to accept you, so we just want to like meet you first and like have a conversation with you a bit, and like get on closer terms than just like a random person. And a big thing is, I've learned this through doing like different interviews and applying for different jobs and stuff like that, is your resume and the way you present yourself in the interview is all that your employer knows about you. Like, if you're not applying to a place where you already have connections and you already know the person who's going to be interviewing you, the person who is interviewing you is going to be someone like they're a stranger. They're a completely brand new person. You've never had a conversation before. So all they know about you is your resume and how you present yourself and speak during the interview. So one of the things my co-op supervisor notices. She was going through my volunteer experience, and she was saying, she was talking about how when she's looking at people who apply, she really she looks for things that are like the kinds of people that you've worked with and the kinds of like skills you would have through doing hours and experience like in certain things. So she was like, okay, so I can see here you've worked at summer camp, so that means you've worked like with children and you know how to deal with children, right? And like not all of the time it's going to be someone who's completely competent and good at working with children because they've worked at a summer camp, because some people have just do it for the volunteer hours, but
Slip through the cracks.
yeah. But another thing did I mention this in our university episode, Naman, where we were talking about interviews? I think a big thing that is looked for is loyalty, and how many times how many times you
longevity,
and how long you spend at one place. Because when an interviewer is seeing your resume and they're seeing like, would you rather have a resume that's 4 pages long of volunteer experiences that's like 4 hours for each experience, or would you rather have like 1 page resume with 4 volunteer experiences that were like multiple hours, multiple weeks over many years? Because then like someone's going to look at that and say, like, they're obviously doing something right if they're going to be there for so long, right? They're not just going and hopping around different places to get volunteer experience. So yeah, definitely.
Like not only are they committed to the volunteer job, but the job is also committed to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, okay, this person's legit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, your resume should not be 4 pages. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Yeah.
That was an exaggeration, I know, but I just want to put it out there. Your resume, 2 pages at absolute max if you need 2 pages.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when I was talking to my boss tonight, I said like what do you look for on a resume? And to be honest, he kind of gave me a shocking answer, because he's like, to be honest, I don't really like resumes that much. Because let me put it out there, resumes are necessary for jobs, but I can understand where he's coming from, because like it's a restaurant job, like it's not like they're looking for your degree, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like the resume is good because I can see your experience, I can see what you've done, but he's like, I care more about how you give me your resume, if that makes sense. I'm paraphrasing, but like, are you confident? Do you show that you can communicate well? Kind of touching on Maxwell's longevity thing, he's like, are you someone who's going to be here for a year, or are you just going to be someone who's here for a couple months and then they're going to leave? Like, is your resume someone who's like, I did like 5 jobs in the last year that I spent a month at each? Or are you coming from a job that you've been with at for X amount of months to maybe like a couple of years, and for whatever circumstance you're leaving because of that? That's another thing. I think if you're leaving a job if you're leaving a job that you've been at for a long time and you're giving your resume in, I would try to slip into the conversation while you're leaving, because he did mention to me, he's like, sometimes I look at resumes, and if they were at a job that was like kind of good, he's like, I wonder why they left sometimes, because like, did they leave for good reasons or did they leave for bad reasons?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I never thought about that, but it's something I'm gonna do next time. It's like, oh yeah, I left this job because COVID happened and they couldn't employ me any longer, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the whole like idea that Kaila was talking about earlier, giving your resume in person, what Max touched on as well, it's like super, super important, because as what Max said, that's your only impression of you, right? They see your resume, they see, oh, you did this club for 4 years, you did this thing for 2 years, oh, you were in this job for however many months. But when you present yourself, when you come in, eye contact, firm handshake is so important, by the way. Very important. Make sure to have a firm handshake. Someone described a not firm handshake as a dead fish handshake, and that's stuff.
Ew.
Dead fish is gross, and you do not want your hand to feel and look gross. So don't be a dead fish and have a firm
Moisturize, file your nails.
Moisturize and firm handshake.
No, but seriously, I've had 2 employers say, "Wow, good handshake."
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It's important.
Mm-hmm.
And also,
Yeah.
make eye contact. You got to dress to impress. Of course, don't come in with a suit if you're applying to like a fast food restaurant or something. But you got to just present yourself. You got to confident, shoulders straight, everything. You got to just make yourself look confident. Just present yourself like you would want if you were an employer. Yeah, you'd want to hire this kid or you'd want to hire this person.
Show that you want the job.
Exactly. You don't come in there with a sweater. You're all feeling down, weak handshake, not looking at the person. Oh yeah, I guess. Oh, what? Describe yourself in 3 words. I guess I'm cool. Don't do that. That's cringe. Just be confident.
Cringe.
Yeah, it's cringe. It's gross.
And it's hard. It's really hard to do that. Like to put yourself out there. And I acknowledge that like it takes time, and I don't want us to come off like, oh yeah, just be confident, because it's hard. It's definitely hard, but it's something you practice at, and it's something that you learn over time, and you learn what works for you. Like for me, as we all know, I speak a lot, so I convey my strengths through my ability to communicate. Some people are better at through actions, and they display their competency through actions. So there's no right or wrong way. You just need to be confident in your abilities and your strengths, and that will come off naturally to your employer. Side note, this isn't like a thing I would go against, but this is more of a personal opinion. Don't drop your resumes off with your parents. Like, don't walk in with them. There was this one person who came into the store. They were like a good head taller than me. They looked a couple years older than me. And they came in with their dad. And the dad walked up to us and said, "Hi, my son wants to drop off his resume."
Oh, no.
And I said, "Okay." And I turned to the kid and I was like, the person, and I said, "Oh, can I see it?" And his dad pulled out his resume and handed it to me. And I said, "All right, thank you." And then they left. And newsflash, nothing came of that. But yeah, don't. This is again. This is not a rule. Personal opinion, though. Don't come in with your parents if you don't have to.
It's kind of like an unwritten rule, right? Like you're going to be working at a job. You got to be able to show that you have at least the initiative and the independence to be able to do that on your own. Actually, so I got a really weird side note. I'm gonna do a Kaila here. I have a funny story about firm handshakes. Okay, so. This is a story from a volunteer opportunity that I had for my church when I was a younger kid. So technically, this isn't even volunteering yet because I was a little kid, and they were like, "Hey, so your age group, you guys are going to be doing like this fundraiser thing." So there's this big event where there was a bunch of different like small vendors at the event, and what they were doing is each vendor would be raising money for, it would be going to a third world country. So. So we decided on the country we were doing that I don't remember right now. I apologize because my memory's horrible and I was in like grade 4. But pretty much what we were doing is like, we're a bunch of kids, right? And they're like, what can like these kids do to raise money? We're like, this was at the peak of Rainbow Loom, by the way. So, dude, I was insane at Rainbow Loom. I got like the hook and you got the elastics and you make, dude, I made like little animals.
Well, you kind of need the hook and the elastics.
Bro. Wait, what?
I didn't know that.
You need the hooks and the elastics, yeah.
Yeah, of course, but I was a master, okay? I was making all this stuff and watching YouTube tutorials. Okay, so we're like, yo, we got all this. You didn't. Why are you so surprised?
I didn't know that about you. That's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Wasn't like every kid into it at the time?
No. I got it, but I only got the Dollarama. Like I got the smaller ones. I got the ones that like, you know what? I went Dollarama. I'm like, all the kids are getting this. I'm gonna get this. I got it. I tried it. I'm like, this is the elastics are breaking, Mom. Look, you Toys R Us, please.
This
Mom.
is the one trend. This is the one like trend as a kid that I actually participated in.
Yeah, no.
I got a bunch of Rainbow Loom stuff. Yeah.
Sorry,
continue.
With all these cool, like
it was
had, like this whole like hand thing. I was like, bro, what?
Yeah. So first it was silly bands, and then silly bands like got old, and then they're like, now you use a bunch of elastic bands. And you make even cooler elastic bracelets. So then we're like, yo, me, yeah. We were like, okay, so we can use the colors of the flag of the country we're raising money for, and make all of these different variations of bracelets, and then we can sell them because, like, of course, the adults at a fundraiser are gonna see these little kids selling elastic bracelets, and they're gonna buy them, right?
Oh, you have one.
Yeah, thank you for trying. So. Yeah. Yes, I'm recording something right now, Mom. Okay.
I'm back.
Okay. Yeah. So as I was saying, of course, like these adults are gonna see this and they're like, oh, these little cute little kids like doing a little business thing, right? Yo, why do you just have these on? Okay, stop distracting. Stop
Sorry,
doing a Kayla
sorry,
while I'm
sorry,
trying
sorry.
to do a Kayla. Okay,
Sorry.
so pretty much we were selling these bracelets. So like the weeks before, we were making like all of them, and we had them all, and then we like displayed them and had prices with cards and everything for the names of each one. And there was this one guy that was actually from my church that I didn't know. So he came up and he was like, "Hey," and I was like talking to him about the bracelets and what we're doing and which country we're raising money for and everything. And then he decided that he wanted to buy some, and then he shook my hand after it, and he was like, "Oh, that's a good firm handshake." And I was like, as a little kid, I was like, "Wow, I'm a little kid and I can do this." I'm sorry, this is so random, but no, it's so
It's so
The older
cute.
generation really likes
so
firm handshakes.
cute.
Yeah.
Like they value it a lot.
yeah.
That's
It was
so
it was like this 6-year-old dude, and he was like, "Wow, that's a really good handshake and for like such a young kid." And I was like, "Thanks."
Hmm.
So then, I found out that he was at at my church because it was like a bunch of different churches at the event. So every time I would see him at my church when I like got older, he would always shake my hand, and then he'd always be
Aw.
like, "Handshake's still good," and then we'd always like catch up and talk about what's going on and how school
so
is for me
cute.
and how life's going on for him. So it's like a small
He
relationship that I had
remembered
with him.
you
Yeah, just from the first
'cause of the
time because of the handshake.
handshake.
So that's how much a handshake can stick with
Yeah.
someone, is that I was able to have this relationship with this person just through having a good handshake when I was a kid. And like and now I'm pretty sure they're moving to like BC or something, so that's sad. I won't be able to have one last handshake before he moves.
Aw.
But
Aw.
yeah, that's just like a little bit of a side story on how much a handshake can have an impact on like your first impression with people, right?
Yeah.
And like a bunch of the things that we just talked about can carry on into, let's say you get an interview after you drop your resume off, and you carry on firm handshake, presenting yourself, eye
Mhm.
contact, confidence. It's all important in an interview as well. But just let's say you get an interview, all right? They like your resume, they call you up, say, hey, can we get you in for an interview, right?
Mhm.
What then? What is your first thought? You going to the interview 30 minutes before, you're in your car, and dropped off. What do you think? What are you thinking? What are you doing?
I'm gonna be honest. When someone calls me back saying I have an interview, the first thing is like, "Oh shoot, can my mom drive me?" But
Really?
past
Do you not
that,
get stressed at all? Like, do you not like have any like pre-game warm up? You don't have any like mental that goes into it?
I'm gonna be completely honest. No.
That's crazy. That's
I mean, I
crazy.
That's
get like the
weird.
general. No, like I get like general like.
You're
like,
weird.
You're weird,
nerves.
Kayla.
No.
You're
Okay, you want to
weird.
know why? Let me give you the story why. Like I obviously I'm a little bit like, oh, are they gonna like me? But I'm not really like stressing myself out a lot because like my parents. I credit this to my parents. My dad used to do like sit me down and like make me shake his hand, and so like, can you do a firm handshake? Because I don't know why they find it really important. My mom signed me up for public speaking when I was in the 4th grade because she wanted me to be
Dang.
able to speak. So
That's crazy.
I've I'm pretty decent at like pretending that I'm okay in stressful situations.
Mhm.
But mini side story, my first job interview was um, actually the day I turned legally able to work, so that was good. But it was right amidst my grade 9 summative time, and my summative group, as a grade 9, this was the most stressful project I've ever worked on. I was
You have a whole
gonna
50
go
minute
insane.
episode about anyway.
Anyways, but I actually planned my interview right in between my group having to practice. So I was like high strung and stressed out already. So I'm going to be completely honest. In my head, the job interview was not high on the stress list. Obviously, I was prepared and I was ready to go. But because I did like prepare and stuff. But yeah. And because that first job interview isn't a stressful memory, when I go into other job interviews, I don't feel
That's good.
that stress.
That's
So I think
interesting,
that's
yeah.
probably why.
Mhm.
I
Um,
a little
yeah, and
side
sorry.
note of that. I didn't have a first interview, which is kind of weird. My first employer was my assistant hockey coach, and he was like, "Do you want a job? Come on over to Wonderland." Cool, nice.
Again.
Drive on to Wonderland. So yeah, that was my experience with my first job. So I don't definitely have that, but no, that's weird. You're like, well, not weird per se, but like that's impressive that you don't really have like a pregame for that.
I mean,
For
I do
me,
have I have like a pregame, but it's not like I'm sitting there like, okay, go.
for me, For me, I remember I had an interview not too long ago. I remember I was driving up, right? Just blasting like rap music.
Yep.
Aw.
I was like, my hands were just like held gripped onto the wheel. I was like looking straight ahead, like I am so focused right now. I'm not. I'm. Just, I felt so like in my element. And then I'm like, and I
Good.
turned the rap music down. I pulled into the parking space. Looked to my left, an old lady in her car. I was like, I have to turn this music down a little bit more. I turned it down a little bit more. I was like, okay, I got this. My hands are already sweating. And then I just got out of my car and it was just like, now I have to just take everything they send out that music, throw it out the window. Just
All
keep
right.
energy in my head. And then I went in there, and that was what I did. And when I get in the interview, it's just like once they ask the first question, that's like the floodgates and they're opened, and then like it's like
Oh yeah.
everything is a bit more calm and I can answer the question smoothly. It's just that one moment where it's just like, okay, gotta get in my element.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think my after that first job interview, I'm gonna be honest, aside from my co-op placement, it was the most formal job interview I had, because the second job I had was at the real estate agency, and she kind of was just like, when are you free? The job I have right now, I mentioned it in our job episode, I just went down during a shift to drop, like, under the guise of dropping my resume off, and I didn't my job interview then, technically. So I don't really, I think my only pre-game, if you wanted to put it that way, is just know what's on my resume, know something about the business, have the questions I want to ask ready, and have a copy of my resume.
Yeah. I was going to ask, like, what are some tips for interviews? And I guess those encompass a good amount, you know, having an extra resume copy, making sure you know what you're applying to, having questions. If they ask, hey, do you have any questions? It's best to not be like, oh, no, I'm chilling.
That's the worst. Don't do that.
Yeah,
ask
don't
questions.
Just be like, hey, yeah, how many hours will I be getting? What's the pay like? Or just a specific question about the company. It shows that you're interested, and it's good.
Ask about, don't be afraid to ask about pay. I asked my mom this when I did my first job interview. I'm like, is it okay to ask how much money you're gonna make? She's like, yes, you need to, because you're not only are they, yes, they're hiring you, but you're also going to work for them. You need to know what you're getting into, right? Like, you don't want to say yes to a job that's gonna not pay you good and give you like 2 hours a week, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if this was just me, but like when I was younger, I always was thinking I was always in the mindset where I was like, I have to do everything for this job, and I've got to like make sure that like I have to sacrifice my whole life for this job, and like I've got to like throw everything I got into this job, and even if it affects my mental health, that's okay. I'm doing it for the employer. I've got to do this because I'm hired here. I've got to do everything. No, your mental health comes first. Your physical health comes first. Always make sure if we learned this in the women's training, if something is going, if you're not comfortable to do something, say it. Just be like,
you have a right to say no. Women's.
Women's. That's facts.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. You have a right to ask questions, and you should ask questions.
Yeah.
That's really important when it comes to interviews as well.
Yeah, and it's not, you're not going to come off rude by asking those questions either. Like, when they say, oh, do you have any questions? Or, like, even if they don't, I always ask, like, so how much would I make? That's a fair question to ask. That's not rude. How many hours a week am I going to get? What's it like working here? What are things you value in your employees? It shows that you genuinely care about the job, and it shows that you're taking it seriously. When you shake your head and say no, it kind of gives the impression, at least to me, that you're not paying attention.
And I guess that wraps it up for us. You know, we've talked about interviews, we talked about resume making, we talked about experience, volunteering, co-op, everything in between. And yeah, no, I guess that's basically it. You know,
Oh, sorry.
Unless Kaila has to do another Kaila. What's up, Kaila?
Can I?
Go.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was just gonna say, when you're writing your resume, specificity is key. You want to make sure that like you're actually showing how the things on your resume are relevant to the job you're applying for. And we kind of touched on it a little bit about specificity, about tailoring it to your resume. But I think that's so super, super important, because if you can show how something completely irrelevant to the job is relevant to the job. It shows critical thinking, and it shows that you're able to, like, you actually learn something from that experience, and it shows that you can pull experience away. And not only did you learn something, but you also know how to apply that thing to something completely new in a new environment. And when you work on those skills and practice those skills and rewrite your resume constantly, edit it constantly, look for opportunities, and just push yourself, because it's not easy to find a job. It's hard work, and if you're willing to put in that work, it becomes not easier,
It pays off.
but you kind of, yeah, it pays off. Yes.
Mhm. And I guess just one final note, really. Like what Kaila said, it is hard to find a job. So if you apply to many jobs and you don't get a call back, or your interview doesn't go too well, that is perfectly fine. There will always be another place that is hiring. There is
Mhm.
always going to be another interview. Um, you take every interview, every job opportunity, every resume draft as a lesson learned, and you kind of go forward with it. So just don't feel discouraged if if it doesn't go your way,
Mhm.
because eventually it will. You just got to keep putting in the work, and yeah,
If you
do
don't
something.
get accepted, ask them why.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's big.
I do that. I ask them
My
why.
last my last interview, as I was talking about the rap music game, the interview went well, but I didn't get the job, and that was just because I guess COVID was a big thing.
Mhm.
Hours, the new year, training and everything. And hey, that's okay. Don't feel discouraged with that. Look at your resume again, rework it, redraft it, take things out, add things in, and then just try again. Apply somewhere else, and hey, maybe that one will be better.
Mm-hmm.
Lifelong journey.
Yes, sir. So
Oh, yeah.
we hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for our new episodes. Make sure to drop a follow if you're watching on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Make sure to subscribe. Hit the bell button down below if you're on YouTube. Make sure to drop a follow at our Instagram at Convos Podcast. And yeah, we hope you stick around for the next episode. See you guys.
Have a good night.